Imagine waking up on a filthy metal slab, the smell of rust and engine oil thick in the air. Above you, a 2-meter green monster is holding a rusted circular saw. No anesthesia, no hygiene, no sterile anything. And for some deeply bizarre genetic reason, you are genuinely excited to see what he's going to do with your leg. Welcome to Tuesday in the life of an orc. In the universe of Warhammer40k, where suffering is the universal currency, there is one race that simply forgot to tell the system it was supposed to be suffering. And the worst part? The most dangerous, most miserable, most objectively horrifying job in their entire hierarchy is also the one none of them would trade for anything, including the one where your head explodes. Orcs descend from a race engineered 60 million years ago by the Old Ones, the oldest beings in the galaxy, as a biological weapon of war. The Old Ones died before they could turn the project off. So the Orks kept going, alone, without purpose beyond what they were built to do. And since they were built to love war above everything else, that is exactly what they do, at galactic scale, forever, without stopping, with enthusiasm no other race could understand. They reproduce through spores released at death. Kill an orc on a planet, and 50 years later that planet will have orcs again. There is no winning in the long run. You can only slow them down. They also don't feel pain the way you do. An orc with a severed arm will pick the arm off the ground and use it as a weapon. This matters because every single job on this list would mean certain death for any other living creature. For an orc, it's just another day. The Stormboys are shock infantry, elite troops, special assault units. They fly on rockets strapped to their backs. Rockets built by orc mech boys, whose engineering philosophy is to first explode a machine to see what happens, then fix it afterward. The rocket pack works roughly 70% of the time. The other 30%. The Stormboy launches into a spiral, loses control, and either buries himself into the ground at 200 kilometers per hour or shoots off in completely the wrong direction toward the enemy army with no plan beyond velocity. The other orcs find this absolutely hilarious. Here's the truly absurd part. Stormboys like tactics. For orc standards, they are the most disciplined, the most organized, the ones who think before they charge. And for an orc, that is the equivalent of a teenage rebellion, not black hair dye and sad music. Their rebellion is marching in formation, polishing their boots, and, the horror, following orders. They are so disciplined that other orcs look at them with the same disgust you'd have for someone who genuinely enjoys doing taxes on a Sunday. "Why are you thinking before you start hitting things?" is a question asked with genuine horror. And still, they love it. When the rocket works, you get there first. You are the first one to hit. You have the best position, and when it doesn't work, at least it was an interesting ride. The Loota's official job is looting battlefields, taking everything that isn't nailed down, and if it is nailed down, ripping out the nails too. In practice, this means standing in the middle of active battlefields, between explosions and crossfire, bent over picking up scrap metal while two armies try to kill each other around them. What do they do with it? They trade with mech boys for better weapons. The mech boys build them the Def Gun, a shoulder-mounted heavy cannon that randomly changes caliber, range, and fire type every single time you pull the trigger. This is not a design flaw, it is the favorite feature. A Luda known as Grabber Gutzbag once stole an entire Imperial Titan, the largest war machine the Imperium produces, 30 meters tall, weaponry capable of leveling a city, disassembling it piece by piece during active combat and disappearing before anyone noticed. This is considered by orcs to be the greatest sporting achievement in recent history. The problem with this job isn't the danger, it's the competition. Every Luda is competing against every other Luda for the same scrap. And since orc currency is teeth, their own teeth, which grow back naturally, but still, a Luda who can't scavenge enough is broke. A broke Luda can't buy better weapons. Without better weapons, he can't raid dangerous enough battlefields. A perfect economic cycle designed to guarantee they never stop taking risks. Burna Boys have a clinical obsession with fire and found a profession. The weapon is a pressurized tank of a custom mixture of squig oil and promethium. Each mech boy has his own burnin' brew, connected to a torch with a blue flame that cuts through space marine armor like paper. Turn the valve one way, flamethrower. Turn it back, cutting torch. Simple. The tank sits on their back, in fields full of shrapnel and explosions. A Burna Boy with a punctured tank becomes a torch in seconds. The other Burna Boys consider this slightly enviable. What a way to go is a genuine compliment. In peacetime, they work in workshops full of flammable material, using equipment that burns at over 1,000 degrees. Accidents happen. The Burna Boys call this practice. There is a type of orc that looks at 40 tons of reinforced armor with heavy weaponry and a trained crew and feels hunger. Not admiration, not respect. Hunger. Tank bustas are vehicle destruction specialists. They carry rockets, anti-tank bombs, and something called a tank hammer, an explosive on the end of a pole designed to be swung against the hull of a moving tank. To use it, you need to get close enough to a moving tank to hit it with a stick. This is the official plan. They also train bomb squigs, creatures with explosives strapped to their bodies, pointed in the right direction and released. Bomb squigs are not particularly good at distinguishing enemy vehicles from friendly ones. The tank bustas consider this a minor issue. The reason they love it, that 1 second between the bomb touching the hull and the explosion, when they know they won. The Commandos are spies, infiltrators, masters of silent ambush, covert assassination and destruction behind enemy lines. The problem is, they are orcs. To do the job, a commando needs to stay quiet, move slowly, wait, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. No fighting, no shouting, no exploding anything. They paint their skin with blood and mud for camouflage. Learn to crawl. Develop genuine patience, the rarest commodity in all of orc civilization. And when the right moment comes, they eliminate targets with efficiency that any human special operations unit would recognize as professional. "You waited? For how long?" is a question asked with genuine horror. Most commandos come from the Bloodaxes clan, the orcs who come closest to actual tactical thinking, which already makes them suspicious to the other clans. The cost: every mission spent away from the Wa, the collective energy that all orcs feel when fighting together, is like food deprivation. It doesn't kill, but it leaves a hunger. The commandos compensate by being absolutely brutal when the ambush begins. The weird boy is the orc psyker. He absorbs the gestalt field, the psychic energy generated collectively by every orc around him, and channels it as a weapon. A blast of pure energy that melts enemies, turns them into puddles. The gestalt field is real. It is why vehicles painted red go faster, why weapons painted yellow explode harder. The collective belief of thousands of orcs reshapes reality through the warp. The weird boy channels all of that through his own body. If he doesn't discharge regularly, the pressure builds, and then the head explodes, not metaphorically. But the problem isn't just for him. When a weird boy pops, he can accidentally transform every orc around him into thinking mushrooms, or tear open a hole directly into hell in the middle of camp. He doesn't just die. He takes reality with him. So they are kept in isolated huts, like living time bombs wearing jester hats. Copper staff to passively bleed off energy, bright clothes and enormous hat so other orcs can spot them from far away and run, bells and rattles to announce their arrival. The visual result is a clown designed by someone who has never seen a circus, but with enough raw power to accidentally destroy a battalion. The subtype known as a warphead is a weird boy who got addicted to the feeling of release. They actively seek larger battles, more orcs, more pressure, more intensity. The head explodes more frequently. They don't mind. The Painboy never studied. Orc surgical knowledge is genetic, encoded in the spores, passed down through generations as pure instinct. A young Painboy wakes up one day knowing he needs to perform surgery and simply does. No anesthesia. The traditional method is a hard blow to the head with a mallet. This works for a few minutes. For longer procedures, the patient stays conscious. The Painboys find this irrelevant because orcs feel very little pain and tend to enjoy the process anyway. Procedures available: limb transplants from donors who are not always volunteers, organ replacement with mechanical equivalents built on the spot, squig brain implants when the original is beyond repair, and improvements no patient requested but the Painboy found interesting to attempt. The most famous is Mad Doc Grotsnick, who habitually amputates his own limbs between surgeries just to keep the skill sharp. Grotsnick operated on Gazgul Thraka, the greatest living orc warlord, after injuries left parts of his brain visibly outside his skull. Grotsnick removed what remained of the original cranium and installed an adamantium skull casing, the hardest material in the 40k universe. A few hours later, Gazgul walked out. The patient always leaves grateful. Orc genetics make them genuinely appreciate the process. Painboys are addicted to surgery the way other orcs are addicted to battle. Without patience, they get anxious. They start looking at their own limbs with surgical interest. That is the signal that someone needs to get into the patient queue soon. The grot is the smallest, weakest, and most mistreated creature in the entire hierarchy. Servants, carriers, living shields in battle, ammunition runners, the ammo runts, who sprint alongside war bosses in open fields, unarmored, carrying reserve ammunition, sent ahead to absorb the first shots, used as ballast, traded as currency. They are controlled by runthords with whips, electric prods, and squig hounds trained to eat grots that try to run. On paper, it is the worst job in the galaxy, and the grots don't want to be freed. Not because they're stupid. Grots are relatively intelligent by orc standards. Some have learned to read, some have developed mechanical skills that would rival young mech boys. They stay because the orc hierarchy is the only thing they know, and inside it there is a kind of security. You know exactly what is going to happen. You know the rules. The universe outside, with tyrannids that consume entire planets, with necrons that have existed for 65 million years, with chaos that corrodes the soul, is objectively more terrifying than a runthord with a whip. The grot looked outside and decided it prefers in here. You just heard about surgery without anesthesia, heads that explode, rockets that fail, and the most mistreated creature in the galaxy that doesn't want to be saved. But here's what you didn't notice while you were listening. None of them are suffering. The Painboy is doing exactly what he wants. The weird boy finds it thrilling. The tank busta is in paradise the moment the tank explodes. The Commando has the pleasure of a perfect ambush. In the 40k universe, there are races carrying the weight of dying civilizations, soldiers who know exactly how and when they will die, beings who have existed for billions of years and felt every second as a prison. And then there are the Orks, who wake up every single day, look at a universe designed to destroy them and think, good, there's going to be a fight today. The only genuinely happy creature in the entire galaxy is the one whose skull occasionally explodes from enthusiasm. The 40k universe is grimdark. Everything is dying. Nothing is going to get better. But somewhere out there, an orc is fixing a rocket that will probably explode, and he is smiling while he does it. And maybe that's enough.